I had always been a very active person. I ran a marathon. I loved playing sports. I loved hiking and being outdoors, but a lot of the things that I loved I could no longer do because it was just too painful for me. In 2018, I had a really bad flare-up and ended up in the hospital with sepsis. And it was just a really difficult time. I wasn't able to walk and was in constant pain. I was very blessed to have my family and my friends kind of rally around me, but it was still a struggle to make it through each day. And it really took a toll on my mental health. I was diagnosed with PTSD just from the trauma that I had been through, and also depression. I struggled with suicidal thoughts and the shame that goes along with that. And at my lowest point, I was admitted to a psychiatric facility. Around that time, a friend sent me a podcast, and in it, there was a reading from Psalm 27, and the writer of the psalm is crying out to God for help, and he says, God, I am confident of this, that I will see your goodness here in the land of the living. And I remember when I heard that, just weeping, because until that time, I didn't really have a reason to believe that I could see anything good on this side of eternity. And as I continued listening to the podcast, I realized that God's goodness doesn't always come in the form of getting what we want, that God's goodness often comes in the form of his presence and in the way that he responds to our cries for help. So as I poured out my raw emotions before God, he was faithful to meet me and to take care of me. And I came out of my depression, but a few months later went back in. And I went through several cycles of doing really, really well for a while, and then doing really, really bad. And I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And the day that I was diagnosed, I remember I was reading my Bible, and God led me to Deuteronomy 11:11, and God is talking to the children of Israel, and he's telling them that the land that they're about to enter is a land of hills and valleys with plenty of rain. And it just felt like that was a promise from God, that even though I was living in a land of hills and valleys, of ups and downs, that I could count on him to send me plenty of rain, and that he would not only just sustain me, but that I could grow and flourish in spite of my diagnosis. And that is still where I am today. I'm still dependent on God's rain. I'm crying out to him still and praying and waiting. But even if my circumstances don't change, I can confidently say that I have seen the Lord's goodness here in the land of the living.
Rachel, amen. Rachel, thank you for walking us. I know your story is so much bigger that we could spend hours on that, not just 5 minutes. So thank you for just letting us peek into that. Can you talk to us a little bit about, was there a time where you felt seen and known by God, even though you were in those valley moments?
The one that really stands out to me is when I was in the hospital. I was also 13 weeks pregnant at the time, and we didn't know the gender of the baby yet, but me and my husband were talking about baby names, and I said, well, I've always liked the name Josiah, but I don't know what it means. So my husband looked it up, and he said, well, it means God has healed. And it felt like the perfect name, but of course, me growing up with the name Rachel in the 80s, I was like, but I don't want to name my kid like the latest trendy name, so let's see how popular it is. So he looked it up, and he said, well, it's not at the top of the list. He said, but you're not going to believe this, it's the same popularity ranking as the girl's name, Lucy, and Lucy is our daughter's name. And so at that moment I was like, okay, well, I guess we're having a boy, and I guess his name is Josiah. And then I said, well, what about a middle name? And my husband's middle name is David. So I kind of jokingly said, well, why don't you look at the popularity list? And he said, you really aren't going to believe this, but it's the same ranking as Grace, which is our daughter's middle name. So I just remember feeling extremely seen by God, and not only that he saw me, but that he saw my baby. And Josiah is now 4 years old and doing great.
Thank you, Rachel. That's so good to just see those connecting dots for ourselves sometimes when we just feel all over the place. Thanks, Rachel. Andrea, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, hello, ladies. So my husband, well, my family and I, we moved to the Illinois area about a year ago, a little more than a year ago. So we're still kind of newbies to Illinois. But I grew up in Kansas City, Missouri my whole life for the most part. And I always had a plan of, I either wanted to be like a famous singer or I wanted to be a teacher. And I accomplished that goal of being a teacher, entering into the education world. And I was so proud of myself. I accomplished a lot. I got my master's. I was working on kind of becoming an ed specialist. And I would say it was around, I worked in education for more than 10 years, but it was around, I don't know, the height of the pandemic. There was a lot, I think we were experiencing. But I remember my husband and I, who's also in full-time ministry, we were like, you know what? We feel like there's more God has for us. And like just the busyness of just everything that's going on, we feel it's just taking away from what he wants us to be doing. So I remember we were on a walk and we were talking and praying. We were like, okay, Lord, we are literally surrendering our entire lives to you. We're laying it at your feet. Wherever you want us to go, what you want us to do, we're gonna do that. Well, I never thought he was gonna say, sell your house, move your entire family to a completely new state, but that's what he said. And it was confirmed over and over, even though I was like, please burn the door, close the window, something. But no, everything kept happening, and I'm like, I guess we're moving. So nonetheless, that meant that I had to leave my teaching career, something that I I really achieved a lot, right? You know, in the teaching world or just the business world, you can walk away with a degree, you have this plaque and your name's on it, and you know, people are calling your name across the stage and all these awards. But I would say the last year, there's not been any awards. My name hasn't been on a plaque anywhere. And that's been really hard because I didn't realize how much I put my value and my worth into my education and into everyone knowing, oh, you have this, you accomplished that. And it's just really been a journey of the Lord just really humbling me in some ways and understanding that he does have more for me outside of the label that I place on myself of only being a good educator, right? And it's been hard, and but no one knows this about me, and no one knows that I did this, and the Lord's like, but it's not about you, and it's still new because we're still new here, but it's been this journey of him helping me to see that he does have more for me than what I could have ever imagined, and I think that's been it's been good. But it's been a journey. It's been tough too.
Yeah, that's hard because some of the labels that we give ourselves are great. Like, I'm proud to be a mom. I'm proud to have a certain profession. But sometimes when that becomes attached to our identity and then we lose that, are we okay with that? So, Andy, for you, through this season, what was the more that God had for you through this and that you're consistently learning about?
I think the idea of identity, it's funny you say that because I was driving here and I was like, okay, I can't talk too long, but just identity did keep coming up. And I've been reading a lot and doing a lot of devotionals, and that is something that keeps coming up, even in like the creative space of being part of worship. It's this idea of we all want to be seen, we all want to be known for something, but something that the Lord is continuing to show me is that my identity and who I am should be solely just dependent on him and not attached to anything else, right? And I say this a lot on Sunday mornings at our church. It's just like, you know what? I want to come into this space and it not be about me, because I truly want the Lord to use me in whatever way he wants to. And every single week he does that, because every week presents some new challenge or something new that I'm learning in full-time ministry now. But it's this idea of like, oh, my identity is, I don't have to have it wrapped up in a label or wrapped up in what someone might think, but it's no, Holy Spirit, how do you want people to view me? And from whatever it is, whatever experience someone's having, I want them to be able to come to me and say, oh, we can talk about this. And so it's really just about learning more and more of who God says that I am and not who I say that I am. So.
Okay, Anya. Do you want to sing us? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Do you want a job?
Yeah. All right, Lauren, tell us a little bit about your story. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you. Well, I sit here as the mother of two brilliant, beautiful, artistic, creative, thoughtful, passionate, determined, resilient 14-year-old teenage Black girls who walk boldly in their skin. And gosh, I was gonna go longer than 30 seconds. Keep the time, Nate. And that's my greatest joy. They are my greatest joy, and I also consider that my greatest accomplishment in my life's work. Motherhood is a ministry, and I don't say that cliche. To raise girls, to raise Black girls in 2023 is an evolving journey. And I'm not saying that that's any different than anybody else's trying to raise girls at this time, but I remember when I found out they were on their way, and I had walked to the Walgreens before church. It's like, I think something's up. And I took a test and I was like, nah, that can't be right. So after service, I called the minister's wife and I was like, I need to talk to you. We had a relationship. She'd been like a mom to me. I was in Boston at the time. All my family's in the Midwest. I said, I think I'm pregnant. She was like, I'm sorry, what? I was like, shh, don't tell anybody. So left service, went and purchased, I think, like 8 more tests. And I got the ones where the word would pop up, just so there was no confusion. Pregnant, not pregnant. And they all said pregnant, but I still felt like I wanted to make an appointment. So I made an appointment and I went to the doctor's office by myself. And I remember her saying, oh, I see 2 babies. And I said, what? I said, I'm not supposed to be pregnant at all, let alone with 2 babies. And I don't remember what happened in the next, it felt like 2 hours. It probably was like 6 minutes. But I do know that a few more nurses came in, and I remember them asking me if I was by myself and asking me if I was driving, because I was having this moment of, I was laughing, and then I was crying, then I was laughing, and I'm sure they were concerned, as I would be if I was watching this. And I remember getting up off that table and just so unsure of what was going to happen next, because speaking of identity, this was not my story. This was less than a year after I had finished my graduate education at Harvard University. As the first person in my family to go to college. I was like the illustration of focus and achievement and success. At the church, I was the one that they would ask to do the conferences and talk to the youth. And it's like, no, I can't talk to anyone. This is not part of the story. It's like, you do this and this and this and this and this. And nowhere was unwed mother in that chain of events. And my story is that God has walked with me every step of the way. And it has been a tumultuous journey. I have been in and out of the courts for now 14 years. But every step, God has been with me and has taken care of my babies and has taken care of me. I have wonderful friends who are so supportive. And, oh, thank you very much. I'm also like my mother who cries at everything. But I'm so thankful that I have the opportunity to mother these girls. And on January 8th, they decided to give their life to Christ in baptism. And that was an answered prayer, but it was just another confirmation that God sees me, and he's with me, he's with us. And I was specifically chosen to walk this walk with these girls, to be whoever I'm supposed to be, to whomever I'm supposed to be. I am not less than. I am not an inferior mother. I do not carry the label or status as at risk in any way. We have everything we need for life and godliness. He is our helper. He is a very present help in the time of trouble. He upholds me. He is my stronghold. He orders my steps. And I have no doubt. I was just reading, how am I on time? Okay. I was just reading Exodus 14, and there's a part where the children of Israel, God told them to encamp. I may not pronounce it correctly, but it's like Pi Haggarath. Are there any theologians?
That sounds good to me,
Okay,
sure.
So I looked it up. I was like, what does this mean? And it means the valley in between two high rocks. In the moment of my life, you all, I'm sitting here right now in one of the darkest moments I've ever experienced in my life. I am in the valley between these two high rocks. And if you keep reading Exodus 14, they're crying out. And it's like, why, God says, why are y'all crying out? He don't say y'all, but why are y'all crying out to me? He literally says, if y'all don't move on, he does. He says, tell them to move on. Like, I've already said, you're out of here. The deliverance is already there. The destruction of your enemies is literally right behind you. I have been in front of you. I've got your back. I've got your side. The Red Sea is opening up. If y'all don't just keep walking. So that's what God is saying to me every day. Just keep walking hand in hand with Jesus.
Lauren, that's so good. I'll go look up that word and figure out how to say it later.
Say it, how to pronounce it.
But it's true. I liked what you said, is this is not my story. Because there's so many times in our life we look through the course of everything, or we've been told as young girls, young women, like, here's the path that we've laid out for ourselves. And I can think so many times we're like, this is not my story. But God has been consistently used that, and he's going to pursue us. So for you, Lauren, how did God consistently pursue you? Because you were looking for your identity, and how did you find it in him?
First of all, are there any twin moms in the room? There is nothing more inconvenient than two babies. So that was his first significant pursuit. One baby I would have strapped in a yarn and kept it moving, right? I would have just kept on with my life. I'm resourceful, I'm intelligent, I'm capable, I'm competent. This baby will not stop any show. But two, you're dead in your tracks. There's no freedom of movement. All the autonomy is out the window, right?
There's 2 carriers now.
2 carriers? I literally had one on the front, one on the back, carrying groceries up the 3rd floor walk up. So he arrested my attention. I think he also pursues me as difficult as these moments have been with their dad. When I think about Paul and the thorn, the humility that comes along with having to manage all of these variables. I know that I am the woman that I am. I have learned so much about who God is from these children, being in my life in this particular context. I think about where he says, when we pursue the created over the creator, and he will give them over to the depravity of their mind. And the fact that God every time I'm like, oh, I got it, he's like, wait, stop. Back this way. And it's like, it's painful sometimes, but I know that he wants me to know, if you stay close to me, I'll stay close to you. So there's been so many opportunities, I'm trying to call them opportunities, there's been so many opportunities for me to know God in a more intimate way and to understand the love, the grace, the mercy, the enduring faithfulness, the long suffering that he exhibits towards me that I then try to model in my parenting. And he has sent so many people in my path to encourage me. I don't think anything is by coincidence. I mean, just the fact that I'm up here. I met Kelly at my favorite store, Aldi. And it just, I don't think anything is by coincidence. And the women that he has brought into my life to serve as mentors, inspiration, support, help, pickups, drop-offs, all the things. I'm forever grateful, and I do think that is God
Yeah.
constantly pursuing me.
Good, Lauren. Thank you. All right, one final question to everyone, and I'll start with you, Rachel. If you could go back and you could talk to Rachel when you were at your darkest valley, what would you say to her today?
I would tell her to let other people in, to not try to handle things by herself. And I would tell her to not be afraid of her emotions and to stop trying to hide them or pretend they don't exist, but to pour them out before God.
Thank you. Andy, what about you? When you were kind of teetering and you wanted God to burn down that door, what would you tell Andy?
I would tell her that my idea of what I think I want out of life is so much smaller than what God has for me. And to not limit with the God of the universe, the one that created me, to not limit him or put him in a box.
Good. Lauren, what would you tell that mom carrying 2 babies up that 3-4 walk?
I would say I would have told her to write it down. I wish I had written down all of the ways that God showed up for me, so that as the other dark moments came, I had this text that I could refer back to. I'd heard a lot of women talk about, oh, my prayer journal, I write down my prayers, and I write down when God answers them. Again, twins, no time for that. No scrapbooking, no prayer journaling. But I would have told her to write down when you see God's hand, write it down.
I think that's so true, because there's so many parts of our brain that we're like, oh, that was such a faithful part. But when we get to those moments, we're like, God, where are you? And you forget all of those things. That is just our human nature. So thank you for bringing to light some of these moments for you and being brave and sharing your stories today. It was really brave of you. So ladies, let's give them a round of applause. Thank you so much.